This is Tech House and Speed.
Reese Millen has worked for nearly a year, turning the Hyundai Genesis Coupe into a competition car. Especially in Formula Drift, where he's made it competitive going into the final event in Irwindale next month. But the transition isn't complete yet. Would you believe a giant leap from competition car to an off-the-shelf 500 horsepower, mid-engined, sequential shifting Hyundai Supercar? You'll see it at SEMA after this peek now.
Effectively what we're taking is the 4.6 liter V8 from the Genesis sedan and removed it from the front of the Genesis sedan. Obviously, in the case of the Genesis Coupe that we have here, pulled out the 3.8 liter Lambda V6 and we put the Genesis sedan 4.6 liter V8 in the middle of the car. It's a mid-engine V8 powered Genesis Coupe. We've got a 6-speed sequential transaxle out the back, and we're labeling the car the RM460, which is rear drive mid-engine 4.6 liter engine.
So the RM has nothing to do with Reese Millen?
Oh yeah, maybe you could look at it that way, but no, it's a play on words. It could be the Reese Millen 460 or the rear drive mid-engine. We're actually changing the whole rear of the car into a full hatch. It'll lift, it'll expose all of the fun side of what the car and the build is about. We've moved the fuel cell to the front, along with obviously the spare tire and other accessories to help balance out the car a bit. But yeah, it's going to produce about 500 horsepower, normally aspirated. We're doing 8 50mm individual throttle bodies. It's going to have a lightened crank.
It's going to be noisy.
It's going to be noisy. It's going to be fun. The engine induction is going to be right here. I had the opportunity of driving the Porsche Carrera GT for a terrible movie named Redline, but one of the most fun couple of weeks driving that great car. And this is going to be my answer to the Carrera GT. 500 horsepower, Hyundai-powered V8, and the Hyundai Genesis Coupe chassis.
All that tubing won't be in the finished product. It's there to keep the body straight while the engineering is done to make room for that big V8.
We're building off this rear subframe that typically just houses your differential and your suspension, and now we've changed it from a 4-point subframe to a 6-point subframe. Now it will cradle both the transaxle and the engine and the suspension. So literally 6 bolts and we can drop the whole drivetrain out of the back of this car. At first glance, you look at the Genesis Coupe and it's a 2-door traditional coupe. But another side of it, it's a 4-seat 2-door traditional coupe. So with that in mind, it has a longer wheelbase, and that's kind of what gave me and the guys here at the shop, you know, the idea of, hey, why don't we pitch to Hyundai, let's build this mid-engine car. It's a 111-inch wheelbase. It's not your standard kind of sports coupe wheelbase, a typical wheelbase of other vehicles in the same class, like the Nissan 370Z or 300Z, are around 100 to 103 inches. So that extra 8 to 11 inches buys you that room to package this in here. You know, the driver and passenger cockpit will remain in the same space environment that you want. Actually, I've got a seat here, sitting the seat in its standard driving position, which will be about here, steering wheel up obviously. Those distances are not going to change from the factory street car. It allows us to build a firewall in behind here, have a quarter window so we can still see out of our rear vision mirror out through the rear glass, and separate, you know, the heat and the smells, but still give you that kind of raw power in your back pocket sort of feeling from having the Hyundai Genesis V8 right behind you.
So one day I'm going to be able to buy this in a Hyundai showroom near me.
You never know. You know, the project is not intended to turn it into a production vehicle, nor is it to shed any light that this might be something in the pipeline from Hyundai in years to come. It's just a fun way to exercise what Hyundai is about. You know, this is new. This is creating their heritage. This is writing their heritage. And with the racing efforts that we've been able to do this year, Pikes Peak, Formula Drift with the Genesis Coupe, and then now kind of taking this racing slash tuning aspect to the aftermarket, to the street, you know, this is going to be a car that's going to turn heads at Cars and Coffee or wherever your fuel mileage will take you.
The first stop, though, is SEMA this year.
First stop is SEMA. The car as a complete package will be in the Hyundai booth. Yeah, ready to get a lot of rubbernecking.
This is Tech House and Speed.